Howdy, howdy, everyone. Welcome to Bab with Bronies. I am your host. My name is Everlasting Joy, and of course, always joining me, my faithful companions, Mr. Ben
Yo!
and Twilight is Magic.
Yeah, that's right.
Always the meow. So, anyway, let's get started. We don't have a lot of time to waste, folks. We've got a lot of content and a lot of things to, just a lot of content more than anything. Plus, a lot to discuss in the second hour, which, trust me, I'm so looking forward to that. I'm anxious. Anyway, to start off with, I want to, since I'm right here, I want to get the movies out of the way. For Wednesday of this week, February 11th, CQ will be showing The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and The Brave Little Toaster. As it says, it will be starting on Wednesday, February 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, if you enjoy movies, stop on by. Of course, you can vote for the 18th movies, and you can also submit movies there. So check it out. Okay, now that that's done with, let's go to the news. Yeah, no. You guys, last week was Super Bowl Sunday for those of us in America here. And I just wanted to mention the commercial, the little blurb that the ponies appeared in a commercial. I'm not going to play the video, but I will show the little GIF here. Yes, I call it GIF. Shut up. Anyway, in a certain commercial concerning the NFL itself, the ponies made a little cameo for the Indianapolis Colts. As you can see by this running image here, this was their scene. Apparently, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Ishi Rudal, I'm sorry, was the guy who was the head director of Equestria Girls 2, Rainbow Rocks, made this little image. Or at least had some big involvement in it anyway, at the very least. But I think it was he made it. You guys there?
I'm here. I'm
Yep.
just looking at the picture, and I just noticed that Fluttershy has a so-called inverted wing boner, if you will.
You would mention that, Ben.
I would.
Window, now.
Whee!
She also has the fastest change of bows.
Mm-hmm.
Snapper shy.
I just find it funny that they gave her the football helmet myself because, Dragon Shy.
Yeah, that
Yep.
is a nice reference.
All right, if you guys want to watch the little ad, feel free to at this here article, of course. In the meantime, this little indie movie popped up on EQD as well. Daring Do meets Indiana Jones. This little fan-made movie, apparently. Not sure how I feel about it, but I'll keep my eyes posted. I hope it's interesting enough. Quotes. Here's something that we haven't seen much at all in the fandom over the years. A team of filmmakers called V2 Rocket Productions is planning a Daring Do Indiana Jones crossover film, complete with actual running tanks, explosives, cannons, and more. Explosive! No, I'm not going there.
Ooh.
The film is set to premiere at BabsCon, according to the press release. I, for one, welcome this idea. End quote. Hey, let's see where they go with this.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. At least I'm okay with the movie.
I just hope it doesn't suck. Crystal Skull, anyone?
I'm just now picturing the
Crystal Hoof.
all I can think of is just the scene from South Park after where everyone's complaining and we got one of them throwing up. Anyway, let's move on. This one almost flew past my radar. Now, I had a really busy week this week, so I apologize for most of that, folks. But I apologize only on the premise that I do think some of it suffered, the content gathering. But anyway, my problems aside, Brony Study is launching a pre-season 5 survey. Quote, the Brony Study has launched a pre-season 5 survey to help us judge the fandom's excitement and interest in the upcoming season 5. In addition, we are assessing the fandom's beliefs about the growth or decline of the fandom's size. Please visit our website, bronystudy.com, and complete the survey and spread the word to all bronies. Dr. Psychology. End quote. We've interviewed him about this before, so it'll be interesting to see what these results will bring. What do you guys think? Now, I know we're just, and this goes for the audience as well, but what do you guys think? Do you think the fandom's grown? Do you think what do you think the results are going to say?
I've already taken the survey. Follow my example, everyone.
Was it a long one?
It wasn't actually long, just shorter than normal, I think.
Okay.
It'll take you some 10 minutes or something.
I could do that at work.
Just thinking where to click. And, well, I think it continues in its usual pace of slowly growing over time. It's not explosive like it was, early on, but I don't see any shrinking myself.
No, it has some totas to be expected.
Yeah, I agree. It's not as big as it was, but that's the nature of with pretty much any fad, really. It's still a huge fandom, and I don't see it, dropping out anytime soon. But yeah, it's definitely not as well. I don't know. I suppose it's still because of the off season. Once season 5 starts, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more activity.
I concur. I was going to. Matt made that point in the chat here, and I have to agree with him that I think things as of right now, like this literal minute here,
it's just quiet.
It's quiet. It's gotten almost dead quiet. Well,
but not in a bad way. More like sleeping quiet.
That's a good way of looking at it. Sleeping quiet, but it's not. But as Matt and you guys are pointing out, it's a matter of the fandom is in hibernation, or more like in a hibernating state, or a suspended state of animation, if you will. No pun. So it's just a matter of that.
Yep. Give us something new and look at how much we suddenly wake up.
I don't know. Do I think it's shrunk or grown, or stayed relatively the same?
You can just say stayed the same or grown slightly, whatever your opinion is.
From what reference point, though? Since the beginning of season 4, since I guess since when? I'll say since the end of season 4. Well, no. Bonus doc, by the way. I'll say since the beginning of season 4. I'd say it's probably stayed about the same myself.
Let's go on.
Yeah, we best. And that's it, folks. That's all we have for the news. So art or videos. Now, we have one video, but it's a long one. We also have about 18 pieces of art this week. So yeah, you can kind of thank Tim for, in a good way. You can thank Tim for helping me get a truckload of art. So it's a very content heavy episode this week. Something that that we haven't done on here in a long time. So all of a sudden we get it, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. 2 art so far.
Let's go with art.
Art's fine.
Yeah, we've got plenty of comics, Alicorn, Texas Boy. 4 from Mr. Ben, so that's 2 from you two and 2 from the audience. I hate it when you guys do that, Matt. 5.
I love how you just casually say that while you just toss them out the window like that. It's like as if you do this every week or something.
I think the results are speaking pretty loud and clear. Y'all want the art. All right. Let's go with this one by KP Shadow Squirrel. I always like that name. Titled The Main 12. This one feels like a really pop art-ish kind of piece. So when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that's kind of nice. It's the, how would you describe that, Tim?
I would just say it's a collage of portraits myself. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from when you're saying it's pop artish. Although where I like that it's more colorful than most pop art tends to
True.
be. True to ponies. Also, Spike is unusually pink. That face.
Spink. Is that
Yep.
illegal or? Uh, I hope I just didn't say something offensive. I really don't. I wasn't intending to.
You just shipped him with Pinkie Pie.
Okay, let's go with that.
I'm kind of curious. Why do all of well, not all of them, but why do most of them have their mouth open?
Because they're really happy.
Nothing wrong with that. Although I have to admit, Apple Bloom's one smarmy son of a gun there.
Yep. And Celestia planned all this. Just look at her. It's all according to plan. Rarity is in on this too.
I am a
And Luna
little.
doesn't like it.
Honest to goodness, when I heard the main 12, the line here, I was honestly expecting Sunset Shimmer in here somewhere. Not that leaving her out is bad. I'm just saying that I just expected it. Nothing more, nothing less. Anyway, let's
I
move
like
on.
the arrangement. I like the arrangement of the portraits here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's move on.
Okay, he is here, so we might as well do it. Hawkeye. This one is by Ice Sticker. Now, I got to give a little background on this one. This one's titled Meow More. Let's see, how does he? Yeah, Meow More Cat Denza. Alternate version, Meow More Cat Denza with dialogue. Back on back during the artist training ground days about a month ago, one of the first ones that they had was a pony moving, and Ice participated in that. He gave this. He had this one. His first one was having Shining Armor and Princess Cadence moving. Shining Armor was attached to the cart, and at the very top of it, Princess Cadenza was sleeping. I put a little scene together, and it involved Cadence dreaming she was a cat. I'll have you guys check it out. I won't spoil everything about it, but anyway, that's where this idea comes from, and or at least has its origins, I'll say. So when I saw this in my inbox, I was quite happy, just because he said he would make Cat Denza, so I'm happy he actually did make Cat Denza. Yes, I'm intentionally stressing that for the point. We have Shining Armor and Twilight. Who wants who?
I'll take Shining.
All right.
I guess I'll take Twilight.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, Shining starts.
Right. Oh no, Twilight, it happened again.
But this one was supposed to work.
Well, it didn't.
I'll go look for a counter spell. She's gonna kill me when we fix this.
Oh, I forgot to bring him in. No problem.
Hello.
Hey, Ice.
Hello.
Sorry I didn't bring you in earlier.
All right, didn't
Meow.
expect it.
So what do you have to say about this one?
Uh, what can I say about it? It was something silly I made. It took a long time to get her cat features right.
It shows in the sense of they look good.
It took a lot. It took a
Yep.
lot of editing and redoing things and figuring out how to do like the legs because originally they were just pony legs, and I was like, blah, who cares? No one's gonna care. No one's gonna care. She's half pony. Who cares? And then the mouth too. Each mouth went through like 3 different variations before it finally got to the one it has. That took forever.
Well, it looks like you went through quite a lot of good effort to get this, and I think it paid off very well.
Yes, it's amazing. That one with him like crouching though, that took forever. That one needed like 3 different routes over and over again, just to get her in like a person that looked like a cat.
Aww.
And then it had like 4 good references for it.
What's up with the last panel? She is adorable wrapped around that yarn ball. What made you think of that?
I was just like, on his end is adorable. I was like, she could be sitting young well,
Aw.
all time. I couldn't. The face shit took forever. It was always looked weird. It's finally gotten to something that I found acceptable. But yeah, I didn't want to draw her back legs, so I was like, let's put her on let's just like have her wrapped around the ball.
Aw.
It was most adorable.
So have you seen more Cat Denza?
No, not yet. There will be more though.
Excellent.
Even if I have to make it myself, there will be more.
Yes.
Now that I have a base for it, it'll be much easier to make one now that I know where everything needs to go.
Perfect.
As I told you, we're gonna do young Cadence versus Cat Densa.
Woo! Looking forward to that,
Square
man.
off. At least one person is.
Anything else before we move on?
I don't think so.
Hmm?
I don't think so.
All right.
Got everything.
Take care, Ice.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meow.
All right. Let's move
Long,
on.
long cat is long. Long cat is
This one came to me. I sent it out a long time ago, or like a couple weeks, I should say. But the artist finally got back to me. This is Hobbs Maxwell's Octavia Final. What got me with this one was how colorful it was. Was this something you recommended to me, Tim? I can't remember if you did or not.
I don't remember either. Maybe not. But yes, the colors.
Either way, what I remember
Unusual
was
to see so much.
Hmm?
Unusual to see so much and yet have it work so well.
that's where that was what drew me to this. Was it was so colorful, and I don't know if you guys have really noticed that much, but losing my train of thought there. Anyway, the point is I really liked the background colors with this because it worked wonderfully with what was going on. You know, I'd expect if she was in the middle of of some performance that Octavia would be, really fiery, really. It would look something like this if it was an animated. If it was animated, and the background was more designed as a metaphor for what was going on, as opposed to just a simple background, of course.
Say, I'm actually more attuned and alerted towards her eyes more than anything else. The background is very and what's the word I'm trying to think of? Alluring, probably. I don't want to say pretty, but
Pretty fine.
that just seems like kind of underwhelming. But just I'm kind of at a loss for words, actually. So,
It's evidently her doing her final smash, so
All right, why don't we move on?
I like it. So let's move on anyway.
How about we do a comic?
You said it's all. Sure.
How about, let's see. Oh, which one? Oh, wait, we already did one. Cat Denza. So why don't we do this one instead? This one was by Dim Fan titled Spitfire Portrait. This one came to me really late really late last night. I found it, but I wanted to share it because I think it looks awesome. A very good humanization of Spitfire combined with the very unique art styling. This looks like something out of... I'm trying to put my finger on the style, but I can't think of it.
Shading, though.
What?
That shading there makes the style pop out, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
so I'm loving the glasses that she's got on there.
Yep.
Nice hairstyling.
I like the very serious face she's giving. It's what I would expect if this were, say, like a portrait for her office or something official like that. Very stern, very commanding, demanding. Works wonderfully.
Spitfire is watching you.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, my eyes just keep getting drawn to that nose of that. I don't know why.
That's where the fire comes out of.
Good point.
Doot, 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 doot. All right. Oh, here's one. This was one that it was sitting in my DA inbox, but I finally got around to getting it. Main 6 and Kites by Searsy. I want to zoom in on some of the other characters here. So I'm going to balloon this up a bit. And I'll go across on this one, folks. But yeah, as you can see, what drew me to this one was the very smooth line art combined with, I swear those have to be colored pencils. And if that's the case, that is damn good. It is really good. I don't see any white space or, unintended white space or anything like that. It's blended so well.
Well, that's digital art,
It
so I'm
is
not
very
sure
well
if
done.
it's pencils or not. But I would say that doing this in digital is also quite tricky, so it's indeed a good use of white space.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, intended white space. As a part of choice of the picture coloration.
I do have to admit, I actually find it funny that out of everyone, Rarity's not actually flying her kite. She's got it just tied to her drama couch there.
Leave it to Rarity.
And then the wind picks up and carries her away.
I don't think she would complain.
Couch and though. Well, she's in the perfect position.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie. Actually, when you first mentioned the title, I actually had the mental image of who was it?
Them
Rainbow
as
Dash.
Kites.
Yeah, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, and Princess Twilight actually acting out the role as kites. Yeah.
There was a comic that
And then,
I don't remember who it was by, but someone did a comic on that very subject, something like that. I'll find it for you later.
and then T-Rex comes in, and his kite is Vatu.
And then there's this Jimmy Rustler. Okay, this comic. I'll do this comic next. This is Price of My Excess by Rambo PvP. Now it's only a narrator, so I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna do this one myself. And load. Okay, there we go. Baby blue diamonds, 200 bits. Aged fire ruby, 30,000 bits. Crystal heart, 199,999,999 bits. 9999999. Friendship report, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. That was what drew me to this. Was I remember seeing those commercials a few years ago, and they were absolutely gold. Just because it was always such a great setup. It was always, price this, price that, price that, price this, and then it was always some sort of disaster, and it was then it was such and such, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Anything, guys?
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I was more than tickled to share this one. How about we go with this one?
Funny.
Now this one is
It was funny. Let's move on.
This one was a Tim recommendation titled The Last of Us, Friendship is Magic, with Professor Dickinson and Supermare. Or by Professor Dickinson and Supermare. I hope I caught that. This one wasn't much of a contest in the sense of do I show it or do I not? It was a big fat yes. Why? This is really good detailing. I love how it's in a monochrome fashion, but intimidation. It's in this very monochrome coloring scheme, but it's that's what I would expect. It's a very grim story, so the coloring only adds to it. And the detail is superb. Very well done.
If I actually had the proper game system and if this was a legitimate mod, I would so play the hell out of this.
So would I.
Take ages to mod, but it would be worth it. But yeah, when you open the picture, zoom in. Do it,
I did.
because yeah, I'm just taking that giving the advice to chat people, because when you actually zoom in, you'll see the true extent of the detail, and it's awesome.
I'm loving the work on that rifle there, the woodwork and the actual scratches and dings in the metal.
Yep. And then the backpack and the mains and the eyes and
Yeah.
even the color, everything. It's awesome detail.
Those buttons on the backpack. I didn't see them before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're fully detailed too.
Mm-hmm.
Each a small picture. Yeah, great job. Great job.
Darn tootin'. All right. How about this one by One Jazz titled Crystal Queen? You guys probably saw this one around. I did. I watch One Jazz, so I did see it. But anyone want to start this one else? I know I always start them, so
Yeah, I could. It's a typical One Jazz picture, I would say. That is, it has the hallmarks of their work, their style. It's very detailed, kind of very intricately detailed. It's intricate. That I would say. it also does make a great interplay of the changeling, mm, I don't know how to term it, kind of hive aesthetic and the crystals.
Hmm.
A great combination.
I like the crystal heart thing at the top there. I don't know if that's the real one, but just it looks like a great detail to it.
Yep.
I have to notice in that same aspect, I'm kind of liking that discarded tiara there, like right off to the left. It was like, kind of gives that sense that she was successful in taking over the Crystal Empire and disposing of the previous inhabitants, if you will.
Yep. And now is the frozen throne. The similarities are there. Why not?
Exactly. I was frozen today. All right, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, awesome work once again.
How about... Oh, I want to show this one next. This is titled Flim and Flam, The Twins by Gun. Been a while since I've shown anything by Gun, but I thought it was time to bring him back on here. I don't remember why I stopped showing him. I think it was just space or something. Anyway, I'm sorry about that, Gun, but
That magic. Really awesome effect there.
I especially had to show this one because I'm a huge Matrix nut. So when he's done other Matrix pony crossovers before. So when I saw this one, it fell under going in right now, no question. Shut up.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. I know this is a Matrix reference, but I'm just can't help but just imagining putting bowlers on their hats, making the white tuxes black, and then just having Flam say, "We're on a mission from God."
You want to know what the funny thing is? Is I was watching that movie earlier today. All I can imagine is AJ in the middle of the cider competition when they bring the other five in. All of a sudden they just say, "We are getting angry." Yes, we are.
Also, the stash is the third character, I would say.
Hmm.
That stash.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
there's also there's also a head stash right above it. Look at the similarities between the main style and the stash.
Well, if you're going to look the part, and more than anything, if you're going to... Oh, how do I want to put this? I guess I can't say I blame Flim for doing that.
Yep. Double stash is good.
Exactly.
Of course, now that I've mentioned what I said earlier, all I'm just thinking about is Flim and Flam racing through Canterlot and the super speedy Cider Squeezy 6000 being chased by Equestria's entire armed guard.
That would be
Someone should
awesome.
draw it.
All right. How about... Okay, let's do this one by The Linker, who unfortunately isn't here, but that's okay. Ethics in Cooking by The Linker. I'm just going to let this one play.
Yep. Smooth.
I love this. We sell the oven and don't look back. No one has to know. Is that ethical? Says the Philly who created life in our oven. They threw in a free pot. I'm keeping it. I'm moving out.
Another
I
good
have to
work.
admit, I loved how Bon Bon's expression just didn't change at all.
Well, would
Yep.
yours?
Probably not.
All right. How about? Wow, we're on roughly about time where I want to be, so I'm tickled. This next one is titled Erdic or Raise the Sun by Erdic Core. Hope I pronounced that correctly. The best part about this one is I did intentionally leave out the prefix on this title. This is the source filmmaker creation. And
Really?
really,
Huh.
I took a good look at this at first. Tim sent this to me, and I saw that, but I looked at it, and I thought, there's no way this could be made in SFM because the
And yet
styling
it
looks
is.
way too far out there for it. And then yeah, it's like, but it is.
I know that. Then I just, I look at this and just that is amazing. It
That's why I
it's
picked
the
it up
mane and the
because,
tail
well,
that yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
that's
you
why I
off
picked
there.
it up. Oh yeah, sure, it's okay.
So I saw this one, and I'm like, even if you didn't recommend this one to me, Tim, I would have put this one in easily, just because of that. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen detailed SFM works, but I don't think I've really seen any good still images of them with such detail like this.
And yeah, judging by at least the comments of the picture, yes, there was some post-process rendering that is
Okay.
added,
Still.
but
Yeah,
most of
yeah,
it is right from SFM itself.
yeah. I was about to say. I mean, it's the mane and the tail that kind of threw it for me in regards to the SFM, because I was like, I've seen SFM. I don't think I've actually seen hair
I
rendered
suppose
that
that's the
sort
point.
of yeah. But yeah, that is. I mean, still, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie on that.
Yep.
All right. And let's move on. This next one is also a Tim recommendation by Yoyal, titled Ethereal. Ethereal, perhaps? I'll let you guys lead off on this one.
Well, I mostly
I always
picked it
thought it
up
was
because of the color palette. Yeah, sure. Go on. I'll continue after.
I'm gonna say I thought it was always pronounced ethereal, but that was all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think so too. That's back to the picture. I really picked it up mostly because of the palette and because of how it uses these kind of limited, pastel colors. They are kind of, all of them are colors of Celestia's mane and coat somehow. And yet it's sticking even just to those colors. It manages to work perfectly well. And also zoom in to check out that detail.
Yeah,
Not
I was about to
on
say
her, but on the city. Yeah.
well, I was really more focused on the actual ponies dotted in the background, but yeah, it's like it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like as if Cloudsdale was built in well, I wouldn't say a dome city, but if it was like actually built in the clouds and not on the clouds, if you will.
Yep.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty awesome little alternate viewpoint that they're going for that.
Maybe there's another city like this.
Perhaps.
I like how
Yeah,
bright
it's a
it
great
is,
idea.
believe it or not. I actually really like how
Yeah,
bright it is. It's, like a morning sun type of thing or a setting sun. So I like that.
Yes, that's exactly the reason I referred to in the beginning. The use of the bright and pastel at the same time palette, and that works. Really does
To be
work.
perfectly honest with you, this actually reminds me of how the sky looked back at work when I was leaving earlier this morning. when I got off of work. I mean,
Oh boy, here we go.
it was just breathtaking, really. I actually took a photo of it, and I've been meaning to upload it.
I remember once having to wake
Also,
up. Go ahead.
look at her wings closely, because those feathers are pressed down well done.
Yes, yes, they are. Now that you
But
mention it.
particularly at the far wing and at the close part of her body, because
Wow.
it's realistic there.
Well, even the zoomed in one, her right wing, it's
Yeah.
take a look at it close. That's really detailed. Very nice.
Yeah, it's very well done. I mean, the artist actually did amazing work.
Matt. Oh, I already did deliver it. Anyway, you mentioned a very bright morning day, Mr. Ben. I'll share a little anecdote with you guys. Once I was house sitting for someone and on a farm, and they had horses that I had to take care of, and I'll never forget this. One day I woke up and there were just clouds in the sky, kind of just patchy. It was so red that it was just a sight to behold. It was this really bright red sky, and you woke up pretty much saturating the ground itself in a red hue. Now, you know what they say about red skies in the morning? Well, let's just say that as pretty as that was, what came next in about an hour was the sky falling in. It started raining cats and dogs like crazy.
Yeah, it was actually kind of what made me a little worried earlier this morning. I looked out and I'm like, dude, this is awesome and this is so breathtaking. And I was about maybe halfway home when I realized, oh, wait. Oh, what's that they say about red skies at morning? Oh, nuts. But it hasn't done anything here as far as I know, so.
That's good.
And then bulldogs start falling out of the sky.
All right, let's move on. We have just a few pieces left. Let's go with this one by Assassin Monkey titled Hold. There you guys go. Ah, good water. You guys want to start?
Yep. Assassin Monkey continues being a creeper, but an awesome one.
Admittedly, yeah, this one does look a bit more macabre than, or hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did well enough.
Good, good. It's definitely a bit more macabre and creepy, but the reason I wanted to show it was because I didn't feel that it was overdone or extreme in the sense of like grotesque and repulsive. So that's why I wanted to show this one. I like the detailing he put into this one with those vines and the disappearing hat in particular.
I think that's exactly what he was going for. So I was there when he was painting it. So I think that's exactly the goal he wanted to
Was he going
accomplish.
for a theme of loss here?
I'm not sure he didn't tell exactly the theme, but the kind of effect.
It is actually, wow. Say, well, as I'm saying in the chat, I'm struggling not to make the obvious joke I so want to make here, but it is just, I can actually see this happening in a sort of Treehouse of Horror style episode where Applejack just goes out to do her farming and some otherworldly creature just drags her into the netherworld. I could see this.
Escape from Tartarus.
Yes. So
We should play this.
Yes.
There should be a game like this.
Like the Binding of Isaac, only not.
The literal Binding of Isaac. All right, let's move on. How about... I'll save the comic for last. This one's titled Snack Time by Grenadier. I caught this one in my DA inbox somewhere, one of the groups I watch, and Tim recommended this one to me ultimately. So it was a case of, yeah, this one's going in. Basically, it's Maud
I
and
like the
Pinky
worm
as
tones.
Phillies. Huh?
I like the warm tones of the background.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of lighten them up in a nice way.
I personally just like the idea of this. You know, Pinky and Maud raiding the cookie jar.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that didn't Maud say that she didn't like sweets? Was
She
that
just
just
didn't
simply
like
that?
rock candy at the very least.
Ah, okay, yeah.
She might be crazy about cookies.
I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Of course, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, aside from rock candy, I'm just imagining the mental image of Maud on a sugar rush, and Maud on a sugar rush just basically is her just acting absolutely no different than what she already does.
I would
Yep.
love that.
And
Yes,
of course,
I'm
the
really hyper
floofy
right
pinky
now.
hair.
What, Tim? I'm sorry.
Floofy pinky hair.
Always
The hair from
always
Pinkie
fun.
Pie. So floofy. And yes, she is.
All right, let's move on. All right, this one is titled Twilight Raises the Moon by Laba. We have Twilight and Princess Luna. Who wants who?
Hmm. I suppose I could take Princess Luna.
Oh, we also have one line from Spike. I'm sorry.
I'll take Spike.
Make that two lines. I'm sorry. But so Ben's Luna, you're Spike, I'm Twilight. Hawkeye.
Yep.
Spike starts.
What are you doing?
I just learned to raise the moon, Spike. Still need some training, but...
Twilight, look at what you're...
Ah!
Dot, dot, dot.
Dot, dot, dot.
Dot dot dot
Dot, dot, dot.
dot dot dot. Hello, Twilight Sparkle. I'm here to pay you a visit. Anything happen?
Doo 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 doo. This one, I love this one just because we've already seen her do a terrible job with the sun. So, so if she tried it with the moon, why do I suspect something like this would happen?
I just love the little running thing going on in the comments there. What? No, why would you say that? Where's the moon, Sparkle? It's daytime, isn't it? We can sense where like how your creation has been tampered with.
All I can just, yeah, it's like, I'm not joking around here, Twilight. Tell me what happened, or I destroy you.
And then just Twilight just points at Spike and was like, it was all his fault.
Die! I'm reminded of a comic by Colt Steel Stallion, but anyway, I'm not going to make a reference. I don't like doing that when in the middle of others' work. Oh, fine. You guys want the comments. Where is it? Here it is.
I was just, yeah.
You could have told me it was a featured one. Yeah, we were going to learn about the we're going to learn about the aggravation of stellar matter. You know about that, correct? No books until you construct our new moon. I accidentally burned the moon up in the sun.
Of course, of all things, now you know what I got me. You know what this got me thinking of the Saxton Hale Team Fortress 2 comet that I just blew up the moon.
All right, you guys know what time it is.
Yep.
Let
Yep.
me bring him in. Doot, 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 doot.
All right. Yep, I'm here. I've got it.
Yay.
I got all my net. That's funny. The whole stupid thing is like my net like almost crapped out when you guys started doing that call. It's like my net kind of almost went overdrive there. All right, so we're gonna do the comic first. I'm assuming.
Well, it depends. Which one do you want to do first, Tox?
Let's do the comic first. Because that'd be in order.
Okay, that's fine.
Excellent.
Link for everyone.
There's a lot in this one.
Let's see here.
There we go.
What day today? Bad cop.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more fun comics as are going.
We have Derpy. Who wants
yes. Let's see.
her? I can take her.
You know what? I want to take Derpy because Derpy's my character. I think I gotta play. I gotta use Derpy.
Okay.
Okay,
Are
so
you ready?
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna one second. So I had to reload the my page because my page died out on me. It's just funny because my net's just been kind of big in nuisance right now. All right, there we go.
Usually it's
So-
always, man.
Well, it is. It's just that lately, right now, like over the last, like I would say, hour and a half, it's just been really annoying as heck. All right, so here we go. All right, so I'll start off. All right, so hey, Fluttershy.
Lay
Wait.
Second panel. Go ahead.
Third. Okay. Fluttershy, you gotta see what I found. This has to be the biggest butterfly of all time.
This is Derpy, not Bon Bon.
Yeah, I know.
Fourth
It's still the
panel.
same.
I just had to say it.
And then the end is like, see.
I think that's cute, bringing the breezy into it like this.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, that's the second time I've ever drawn the breezy, and that actually came out significantly better than what this. If I showed you guys the initial sketch of that thing would look like literally trash.
Why?
But it's because I don't draw the thing with the breezy is that they're very tricky to do because they have these really incredibly small heads, and the thing that makes them really annoying is trying to get their enormous wings and those antennae right.
Okay.
Other than that, they're pretty simple. It's just you have to get the face is that like the face of where their nose and their mouth is. It's not like with the actual ponies where it will connect to the actual chin line in a sense. It's you have to actually draw the head, and then you can see like how it's not even attached to the same line art.
Right. I actually can hear.
Um,
But hey, you're already getting compliments. Matt's saying the breezy looks good.
I actually I'm okay with the breezy. It was just that trying to get those wings. I mean, that was a lot of this comic from the Fluttershy up above. Like every panel as you scroll up through there, I had absolutely no direction on this background. I originally wanted to have it more of a field, but then I realized it's much better to have it in a Ponyville center, like I usually keep putting them in. But that Fluttershy, I will say that that's a those 2 or 3 Fluttershies I've done, those came out surprisingly well. I'm very pleased with the second Fluttershy, the first Fluttershy that's in the comic, the second panel, and then
I think she's cute. She
well,
looks a bit
amazingly enough,
different.
that's she's the only thing is she looks a little bit different is because I didn't make her as puny and thin leg wise as they do in the show.
Sure.
So what I did is I gave her a little bit more of a not really thicker body, but it's more so she's not as incredibly like anorexic
Not
as
as
they
lanky
have.
as she was there. That would make sense.
Curvature.
If this is like a couple months to a year past that. So
Yeah, and not only that is I drew her specifically for that purpose. Not it's not so much even just a year or two later type of thing. It's more so I drew her because um, the way they did in the show, I think, was kind of awkward. And again, they were using season 1 fillies.
Mhm.
So if you look at any other affiliate they've ever done besides Fluttershy, obviously Fluttershy's being always said she's basically the oldest pony in the gang besides Rarity, but of course you look a little bit different. I think just that personally, I went with that different touch. I still made her tall, but I gave her a little bit more like fatter in the legs.
Mhm.
But no, this comic, I definitely love how this came out because I literally was winging up all these backgrounds. The comic actually amazingly was never supposed to have that first panel. It was never supposed to have the Derpy in the tree in that in the third to last panel. That Derpy in the tree that was never supposed to be her in a tree. That was a last second sketch that I made that made it into the comic. I keep doing these with comics. There's a lot of last second things I keep adding or panels that are never in the original dialogue. That ties it in a lot better. Like that last panel, the breezy, that never was supposed to have that C at the end, for example. This comic is I love this comic. This one was a blast to do. This one.
it looks like it looks cute and fun.
It is a fun one. Well, it's also it's like again like the general ones I keep doing. They're still fresh and original, which I like.
All right, let's move on.
Yes, the deep sea spike.
Now this one was interesting.
Yes, much.
Go on.
Well, okay, so basically with this spike, it boiled down to 2 things. One, I was in the process of redoing, this is my second to last redo of version 2s of my version 1s of characters, or certain ones, or whatever you want to call it. The thing is, I felt like the spike that I had originally, I never planned to redo them, but I did redo them on this one. I personally did not have any direction with this one. I just made the sketch. I didn't expect to have Spike come out as good as this came out because this is, I think, the 6th time I think I've ever drawn Spike in about the 4 years that I've been doing MLP stuff. But this came out so unbelievably polished. I absolutely love how this came out.
What do you mean polished?
It just looks so. The line art on it just looks so smooth, and it's like everything worked right. And it's not that. It's like I gave him a whole ass load of muscles and stuff like that in this.
And that was the most interesting thing were the muscles. And go on though. I want you to touch on that though.
Well, basically, the way I saw in the show is he basically has actual human type anatomy because he has a shoulder, bicep, and forearm. But the thing is, they don't actually ever show all those proportions. They really only ever show his shoulder and his forearm. Which that wouldn't make any sense, as he would have to have at least some type of other bicep area there. So what I decided to do with the Spike one, it was to basically, in a sense, how I kind of made. I don't know how to describe this. It's more so I try to make the Spike like a really more powered up Spike in a sense, and to make it as more DBZ esque as possible. The problem is I kept having to redo a lot of this line art. I think I had to redo this Spike. I had to redo them I think 4 times because the original one where I just got the arms and everything and the body just set. Then I went back and redid the line art again because I had to recorrect his legs and I had to beef up his arm again. But a lot of the adjustments was basically how muscular do I make Spike? How do I correct the back scales on his back there? And overall, just where on earth do I put the his other arm that's holding the beam? So it's basically I went with just a more muscular looking Spike because in a sense the reason why I did that is I think pound for pound, he's basically the strongest character in the show, besides the actual ponies of Applejack and other stuff like that. But this is why I decided to go with a more muscular approach with Spike, is because I've seen and everybody's seen how strong he is as a character. So I decided to just personify that into this picture.
Nice.
And it came out pretty good because it's like, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, apparently Kathy Westlick apparently liked it, so apparently I got approval from her about that. But the thing is, though, I'll be curious to see how many more people like this thing if I bring this thing to a convention. Because Spike doesn't sell well, but that's not the point of this. I don't make things just to sell. But this overall, I mean, this came out so unbelievably polished that I don't know. I really can't describe it. I thought about adding. Oh yeah, I also thought about adding blood to him, and I'm glad I went without the blood because the actual blood would have been too distracting on this one per se because his colors just fit perfectly with this, and you would have gotten everything all. You would have distracted from just Spike himself. Because in this one, you actually want to look at Spike.
Anything else, Tox?
No, except for next week I'll be at a convention. So I'll put it this way: if we go at the 5 o'clock thing, that's going to be very interesting because you may actually get me at an airport, which that'd be kind of fun to try. No, it's especially about this because the convention will end around 3 next week, so I should be good.
Okay.
I'll be just probably in the middle of packing stuff.
All right.
Well, I'll be doing it from my phone this time. But yeah, and I will say this: I don't know who mentioned it on the Stevie G Spike, but whoever said to add the muscle lines on the back thigh, the bicep, and the other bicep areas, I will say whoever thought of that idea, it saved this picture because I never planned on adding those in there, but it looks a lot better.
Definitely.
So yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Yay! All right.
Thanks for stopping by, man.
No problem. I'll go back to lurking.
Sounds good. Take care.
Later, guys.
Not very good with my goodbyes. Anyway, let's move on to our one video. Do you guys want to stay on for that, or should we hang up here?
Well, since we're moving towards discussion anyway, we can just end the call right here.
All right. Then I'll see you guys in chat.
All right.
See ya.
Sorry. But anyway, you guys probably saw this one, and I always love showing this guy's work. They're always funny. They're always hilarious. I've shown them many times during Anime Equestria in particular. You know them. You love them. Toucan LDMs. Godzilla meets My Little Pony.
Hiya, Bambi. What you been up to?
Oh, hey, Thumper. I'm just eating some flowers here.
That's neat. Speaking of flowers, I was just on my way to meet him. You want to come along?
Sure. Just let me finish up eating here and I'll be...
Bambi, are you okay?
Why do I get the feeling of deja vu from this?
I wonder what Sakura is up to today. Hope she can teach me how to... What's this? I am out to get supplies for a special kind of brew. I'll be back within a day or two. Oh, pony feathers. Hey, what's going on around here?
Twilight? Her hair brought me back to life. It's unbelievable.
Twilight, you gotta come quick. We're in grave danger.
Apple Bloom, calm down. What's going on?
A giant lizard monster with huge spikes on its back is wrecking all of Ponyville.
Giant lizard monster. I think the word you're looking for is dragon, Apple Bloom.
Oh no, Spike. This thing ain't no dragon. It's a whole lot worse.
I don't know, Twilight. She could just be making this stuff up for fun.
Fire! Oh, I'm burning! Ah!
Does that look like I'm making it up?
Well, on the broad side, at least we have enough apples for the cider season. What, I can't say a full sentence every once in a while?
Alright, team. We may have failed last time a giant monster attacked Ponyville, but I'm confident we can do it this time.
Yeah, let's do this! Do you guys get the feeling that we're not really good at this?
See, Twilight? I told ya.
Wow, you were right, Apple Bloom. That thing's more powerful than I thought.
What are we gonna do?
Hey, maybe Fluttershy can stop it with her stare.
Don't you remember, Spike? Fluttershy's gone for the week, taking care of the animals on some tropical island.
You two should be ashamed of yourselves, fighting each other for no apparent reason. Now both of you apologize to each other right now.
Well, since Fluttershy's out of the picture, what else can we do?
I've got it! What better way to stop a giant monster than with another giant monster? Every pony, stop! Listen up. I know how to stop this creature.
How?
Take all of your most valuable possessions and chuck them all at Spike.
What?
Why would we do that?
The only other way we can stop that giant monster is if we had a giant dragon to help.
So you're saying you want to have a relapse of your dragon friend becoming a giant rampaging beast?
Unless you have a better idea.
All right, you heard the princess.
Fire!
Take cover! Oh, I hope this fight doesn't end up too badly for Ponyville.
A monster battle!
Let's get ready for the crumble!
gentle colts. Both monsters are down for the count.
I'm not sure what just happened there, but hooray for Spike! Spike, you did it! You've saved Ponyville from that horrible beast! But what did you do exactly?
I just told them there was another place in need of a good monster attack.
And where would that be?
Hey girls, who wants to go to my place and bake ourselves a ta-da! It's your very special birthday cake for Rainbow Dash. Yay! Giant lizard monster was the joins for a tea party.
Welcome to our weekly meeting of Kaiju Anonymous, where we will discuss for this week on why we should see all things more appealing than to not see it as stuff we would want to crush and crumble. Now, before we begin, I'll be taking roll call. Gigan? Good, you're here. Megalon? Good. Titanosaurus? All right, no need to be obnoxious. I see Hidora's here as well. King Ghidra. Oh, I'm sorry, Ghidorah. I'm not really good with these Japanese names, you know. Ugh. Zilla, how many times have we gone over this? You're not welcome here. Nobody likes you, and you are a poor excuse for a kaiju. Now please, scramoose. Now, where was I?
Ladies and gentlemen, Godzilla meets MLP by Toucan LDM. Here, I'll send one without that, the HTTPS on it. Anyway, all right, we've ran way over time on that one, a little more than I care to. So let's get started. I want to set the stage a little bit here. All right, we've already gone over first impressions and what draws you into a story or whatnot. So now we're moving on to after you've seen an episode, after you've seen 10 episodes, after you've seen the entire season, after you've seen the entire series for that matter. This is to address how you review such things. This is how Just reading some of the comments. But anyway, we're discussing what is it you look for when you are reviewing. Much like last time, I think it's going to be best if I start and ask you guys questions after it, or have you guys answer it afterwards anyway. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I need to let you guys in on. I guess not. Mr. Ben. Wake up, throw Mr. Ben out the window, go back to bed. You know, I wish there were days that were more like that. At least the go back to bed part. Anyway, I want to get started by, of course, proposing the question. How do you review things? Now, that's a loaded question. But a show in general, Matt the Shadow Man. I'm gonna, much like last time, I'm gonna focus on Friendship is Magic, since everyone has that reference level. But if I have to use another show for a reference, there's one instance in particular that I'll bring up here. But if there is another show that I'll reference, I'll try and make it as broad as possible so that everyone understands where I'm coming from. But yeah, it's mostly this is on a general basis. So let's get started. When it comes to reviewing things, first and foremost, I want to also establish a premise here. First and foremost, I want to let everyone know that why am I doing this? Well, I think it's important for everyone to understand how they review. Among everything else, it's important to understand a lot of things, especially everything about yourself, qua yourself. Second, I wanted to go over this, even though I'm pretty much giving away how I review. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that I'm trying to end anything here. In fact, I'm only trying to enhance it. If you can basically get in my head in terms of how I review things, not only could you possibly see everything in a different light, that's a two-way street, of course, but you'll go, maybe you have some fun predicting it, or, of course, more importantly, you'll start to see something in a different light, for the better, in particular. So I want to begin by establishing one other little thing, a couple other little things, actually. First and foremost, above everything. You know what, Matt the Shadow Man? That sadly is true to some degree. That, yeah, get in my head and there's going to be random YTP-like noises and whatnots everywhere. You're going to go nuts. Jokes aside. First and foremost, whenever I review anything, I make sure to go in with zero expectations, a blank slate. I remove every expectation, every headcanon, every desire, everything that I could possibly cause just about everything that would ever cause a bias to me against the episode, the movie, the book, the whatever. Now, I say, of course, remove as much bias as possible. If I like it by default, especially something like Fim, where I've spent so much time in it that you would think that I think this is the best show in the world, of course I'm going to have some bias to it. That being said, I try my hardest to make sure there is zero bias in looking at it. It doesn't matter if it's an episode I'm looking forward to or one that I have absolutely no idea I have absolutely no idea what I'm getting into in terms of whether the story or the execution of the story or what have you. But I formulate my subjective opinions very late after I've seen something, and I'll get to that later. The second premise that I ask myself this question. Story. What are you trying to tell me? Now, that too is a pretty broad question, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into it, but essentially as I ask myself, okay, story, what are you trying to tell me? And then I, of course, try and answer that. Whether it be a very specific point, a very general point, whatever. It could be about the character or story, again, whatever, anything. I just look for the objective cases. I haven't even started to formulate a subjective opinion of it. It's just a matter of breaking things down and asking, so what was that? What did I just see? Literally, what did I just see and hear? I want to start with the characters, because I think that's perhaps the most elementary piece of a story, along with the actual story itself. Again, more on that later. So I guess I'll ask you guys this question. Are there any things, plural, that you guys do before you begin your review? Like what I just did. I'll give you guys about a literal minute to get things typed, because that's a pretty hefty subject, but I know some of you are going to start rolling questions in within that minute. So again, about a literal minute. I'll see what you guys have to say. That's inevitable, Math of Shadow, and we talked about that in the last episode. That first impressions are, of course, going to turn you on or turn you off from something, and that's fine. That's inevitable. But again, we're talking about after you've seen something. So a film episode, whatever. We're talking about after the fact here. Interesting, Thunderbolt. The 3 times. That's not a dumb idea. Mr. Ben, you would. Remind me about that at the end. Headcanon. Just remind me about it at the end, please. I'm liking these answers. It's interesting. Yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode, this specific one in particular, was for your guys' reactions. I'll come out and say that right now, that your guys' reactions and your answers interest me. I'm interested in reading what you guys have to say. Okay. Okay. I think I'll start here. When it comes to, as I said, I wanted to do characters, and that's exactly where I'm going to start. I want to start with characters because for several reasons, but I think it's just because you can divorce them of a story and still talk about them. When it comes to character analysis, there are two important things I look for: their characteristics and the circumstances. Now, of course, like always, have to overanalyze it. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. The characteristics are the characteristics. Pinkie Pie's the eternal optimist, Fluttershy's the quiet one, Twilight's the nerdy bookworm and the leader, things like that. This is basically just their premise, their basis, where we begin in terms of identifying the characters. I like to categorize the characters not necessarily because I expect them to fall into some stereotype or, some hard end category. It's just a matter of helping me understand them. Again, let's look at pick one. I'll pick on Twilight because why not? There are certain things I expect a bookworm to do, like, love reading. But that doesn't necessarily mean that of course she's going to be, again, a stereotype. So it's not surprising that, there's going to be something like she's also trying to become a princess pre-season 3. And now, of course, she has those responsibilities post-season 3. Things like that are, of course, they shape some of her actions that she does. Again, to some extent, and I'll get there. But, how did I put this? Yeah, that's exactly it. Twilight is magic. But anyway, it's mostly just a matter of helping me understand the character, and sometimes, especially in this show, given what I've said about it, sometimes it's nice when they take a different route with the character. Like, for instance, I think one of the best things they ever did was give Rarity martial arts abilities. Why? When was the last time outside of Power Rangers, I will say, outside of Power Rangers, when was the last time you saw the Valley Girl with a fashion sense be a fighter as well? Exactly. So sometimes it helps it helps as a matter of, when they break that stereotype and give them some cool things like that, cool traits or perks or whatever. One other thing I want to say about the characteristics of a character that I look for. This, as I said, it helps me to categorize and understand them. And that's the big key point, is this leads into my next example, the circumstances. Circumstantial parameters are the in-story circumstances. These are what explain the character's actions. So you can think of the characteristic parameters as the what, and the circumstantial parameters as the why and how of a character's actions in the story. What are circumstantial parameters, you ask? Well, let me draw an example here. Circumstantial parameters would fall under something like, let's use putting your hoof down. It's a perfect example of this. Circumstantial parameters are Fluttershy. in putting your hoof down, her characteristics are she's the shy, quiet one. A pushover in particular, pre putting your hoof down. She was like that for a lot of the episodes before this. I hate it when you guys do this. Where was I? However, being pushed around enough, being pushed all over the place as she was in putting your hoof down and before it, those are circumstances. The actions of other characters influencing her actions. It makes sense that after enough time has passed, she's going to get irritated with getting pushed over, walked over, and otherwise shoved out of everyone's way. So that would compel, that would force, almost force anyway, such a character, the shy one, to try to better herself at this. But you say, wait a minute. Her getting mean and nasty is not to her characteristics, her set characteristics. The circumstances override it. And that is where, folks, this is why you have never heard me use the phrase acting out of character up to this point. I'll explain with an example in a second here, but work with me for a minute here. Because if I can see that the circumstances logically conclude that a character would act otherwise to their normal situation, to their normal characteristics, I have no problem with that because that makes sense from a real world standpoint. When, again, putting your hoof down, Fluttershy having all of that all of those erroneous teachings by Iron Will would compel her to become what she became in putting your hoof down in the middle of it. You tell me why that's out of characteristic. I mean, how many times have you guys been tired and grouchy or, I don't know, happy, giddy, and maybe making a stupid move or something? But is that to your normal characteristics? Probably not. But I hope you're now starting to see my point. That if there's a good reason that for a character to act different than what they are, that it's okay in my book. For the record, these characteristics and circumstances are not mutually exclusive things. In fact, it's situations like putting your hoof down that they overlap. Again, I'll just keep using this because it's the perfect example right here. We know of Fluttershy's anger. So the idea of that being drawn out and amplifying Fluttershy's actions via the circumstances, the end result is only logically conclusive. So what defines the phrase acting out of character for me? Well, basically, one of these two parameters has to be broken in order for it for me to count that as a character break. The only example I can come up with in this show thus far is everyone, of course, going to say Spike at your service. And that's exactly it. There's a reason for it. Because I can look at other examples that contradict that. You'll notice that it's when contradictions occur that it gets especially noticeable. But let's look at Spike at your service. I know we haven't reviewed it here in our BwB timeline, but I expect you guys to know that. These discussion episodes are not tailored to timelines. The reason Spike at your service, one of the reasons that it rubs me the wrong way in the sense of that character break with Spike is because I can look at different examples and see a contradiction. What am I talking about here? It's mostly the scenes just after Spike saves Applejack, or Applejack saves Spike from the Timberwolves. He's clumsy. I can buy the idea that he's what's the word I'm looking for? that he wants to help AJ. That I can buy that. I can even buy the whole Dragon Code thing. That too makes sense. But let's look. But the episode makes him clumsy. How many things does he knock over? How many things does he break? How many things does he destroy within those little scenes? Quite a lot. Now, when have we ever seen that happen before? Exactly. And now you're starting to see where I'm going with this. We've seen him be pretty darn competent. How about the scene in Baby Cakes when he's balancing on one foot holding all of Twilight's magic friendship reports? That takes coordination. How many times have we seen him knock over something in the show otherwise? I can't think of any. How about him catching the Sapphire Ruby in Secret of My Excess? That takes pretty good coordination, especially if it's just your tongue doing it. You know, I really could go on here, folks, but I think you get the point that the reason I count this as a character break in Spike at Your Service is because there are no circumstances giving me this. If he was drug induced, or there was some sort of magic affecting him, or something else like that, if there was a good reason for him to be clumsy, I'd buy it. There isn't this time, though, and that's where my gripe comes in, is because there's nothing to it, there's no reason for it, it comes right out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's clumsy when there's other evidence out there that says otherwise. All right, I've said quite a mouthful about characters. I suppose before I go on, that was a personality break. In order for a circumstantial break to occur, I can't think of any, really. So I have to use a hypothetical example. I think a circumstantial break would be as if they were to react to some situation illogically. Like if I expected them to get angry, then, you know, if the circumstances would drive them to anger, I would kind of hope they would get angry. Or, I don't know, especially if they did something really stupid like, oh no, there's a plot device destroying our town. Let's go bake a cake. But anyway, I've said quite a lot here, so I'm going to give you guys quite a lot of time to write your character analyses out. What do you guys look for in characters? And I'm going to kind of look over some of these lines you guys have been giving me. And one thing, I know what I said about Spike at Your Service in there. We're going to definitely be reviewing that scene in particular. So if you think I missed something of yours or there's a point, don't worry, you'll get a second chance if I missed it. But go on. Ooh, I like that one, Thunderbolt. A sense of uniqueness in comparison to the characters around him. I like that. I've got so many pages on this, folks. Just all of my thoughts and everything written out here. I'm just, and it feels like we're going so fast through it. That's the funny thing is here I am spending hours upon hours writing pages and pages of notes, and we're going to be done with it very soon. Go on with that, Matt. I'm curious what you have to say to that. Too many of their own expectations on what they think a character should do rather than think, hey, this character could do this. I guess if you have anything to say, elaborate on that. That'll probably lead me to another point in the story aspect, Thunderbolt. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to kind of wrap up the character aspect here, and I want to move on to the story part. So if you guys have any last minute things to say, I'll give you guys about another literal minute to say your thoughts on any characters or anything. See if there's anything we could discuss or anything like that. Yes, admittedly, when I don't know why I'm saying all this random stuff to you guys, but admittedly, sometimes it is fun to just make faces while I wait. I think what helps Thunderbolt is when, on your note, is I do think some characters do need to be relatable. But I think what helps is when they're basically their own character. That is to say, they're not trying to be, they're not trying to draw the audience in and say, hey, I'm just like you. It's, hey, I'm me. Leave me be, schmuck. There's a difference, though, between him being a Mary Sue, Matt the Shadow Man, and him having contradictory points to his personality and the circumstances. Let me think here. But what's the difference between AJ's place and, say, Sugar Cube Corner? We've seen him working in Sugar Cube Corner in, damn it, what's the episode name? The Philomena episode. We've seen him, and he did a good job baking there. Where else? We saw him work with Rarity in a dog and pony show in a field, and he was pretty competent there. But what difference does that make? What difference is such a small, minute detail going to make? He was pretty enthusiastic on his birthday, but that didn't change his personality greatly. How is that not a minute detail? It sounds like we're just going to be splitting hairs here at this point, Matt the Shadow Man. No, not really. At least it shouldn't change it so drastically that you do a complete 180 on your you do such a 180 in the sense of your coordination in particular. I don't think imposing a life debt on yourself would all of a sudden make you unbalanced. Chorality does not imply causality. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think we're just splitting hairs at this point. But anyway, now I want to talk about the story. So again, I'm going to go on my mode here. Yay, old monologue. Stories, I was almost tempted to split this into three parts: the story, the characters, and the execution. But I think story and execution can go as one. Much like with the character, the characteristics and the circumstantial parameters, you can think of the story itself as the what and the execution as the how. That's the short answer for a lot of what I'm going to be saying here. And this one, if you thought the character one was long, this one's going to be longer. But I'll go. When I go in, the story is, as I just said, the what. In answering that question, what are you trying to tell me story, it varies from place to place. Because, for instance, with film, I expect it to be a case of, it's the don't judge a book by its cover episode. It's the, don't be aggressive, be assertive episode, or trusting your gut is an important thing to learn episode. Things like that. I expect it to be some sort of structured story, you could say, but not as structured as you might think. I'll get back to this very shortly. Other things like, say, a Tom and Jerry episode. I know exactly what I'm going to get with this story. It's basically these two characters trying to outwit each other. To Tom to eat Jerry, and Jerry to prevent himself from getting eaten. Things like that. I know every episode, virtually every episode is going to be like that. That's fine. The story is, like I said, the what. This isn't just, and this applies to specific episodes, all the way up to the entire series. So, Fim's a slice of life type of episode. What else could I use here? SpongeBob is just comedic fun. Dan Versus, again, more along the lines of just comedic fun. Attack on Titan, a human survival story. Things like that. Believe it or not, it may sound trivial to identify the story, but this leads into my next point, the execution, the how of the story. Let's look at Fim here, and I'll pick on the episode Bridal Gossip. That's the don't judge a book by its episode, or don't judge a book by its cover episode. Yeah, the don't judge a book by its episode cover. Anyway, in this episode, as I said, it leads into my execution. Looking at this episode, I made the comment back when we reviewed it, just Ben and myself, and I think Tim was there too at this time. No, I don't think he was. Anyway, I said to the audience, this is virtually every single kids show from the 1980s onward has this episode, the don't judge a book by its cover episode. So then this leads me to looking at the execution. So how did they do it? How exactly did they present it? Was it engaging? Was it fun? Did it do exactly as I would expect it to do? Not necessarily the story itself, but in the sense of the execution itself. Was it executed how I would expect it to be? Because yes, if it does start to deviate or go off, that may raise a red flag or may make me question it. Not always, but sometimes. I want to pick on another instance here. I wrote a lot for this, so I want to make sure I got it. Let's look at Sisterhood Social as a example, and this I said without a loss of generality. The big story, of course, is siblings have their differences, but that's the big story. And there might be little things to it. As I said back in that review, one of the things I like about this episode is that it took what was already established, that Rarity and Sweetie Belle don't have a great relationship as siblings, but back up here, that they don't have that, because in a lot of shows like this, kids shows, the siblings are either very well, they get along very well, or they get along very poorly. However, it's not explored, or it just seems, superficial or cheap. What this does is, among several things, is it says to me, hey, they're willing to acknowledge, the show staff, hey, they're willing to acknowledge that some siblings get along and others don't. That's a good thing. That's part of the execution. And that's something that I would look for is, in comparing it to other shows, is some shows, even some of those that I just love, they may still do something like that. They'll give a character a sibling, but they won't give them a very good establishment. Good or bad, it's not a very good establishment. They might be just a plot device or just for comedic relief. But what Sisterhood Social did was, of course, it said, well, why don't we explore sibling relationships? So they use AJ and Apple Bloom and Rarity and Sweetie Belle as examples. As I said, AJ and AB have a great relationship with each other. Some siblings do. Others don't have a great relationship with each other. But that's worth exploring. That's worth telling about. Look at what they did in the episode. The whole episode was about, not only establishing it, but saying, shoot, the end summary. Saying, yeah, we have our differences. Sometimes we don't even see eye to eye to the point of bickering and arguing. That being said, we still do love each other, which anyone who has a sibling, especially one who doesn't get along well with them, knows that feeling. They know that you can't live with them, but anyone so much as touches them funny, and you're going to send that person packing to the sun with a falcon punch. Let's see. What was the other note? Sometimes it might not even be like relevant to the plot, but it might be something just well done in terms of the storytelling that they do that I really like. For instance, again, Sisterhood Social. Having Rarity inserted into the race in the middle of it like they did, that's brilliant. I liked that setup. They could have had Rarity sneak in at the last minute and say, let's race, Sweetie Belle, at the start. But they did. They had it sneak in. What I love about this isn't the fact that it's necessarily, it is related to the plot, but where I like it lays more in the fact from the audience's perspective. The idea of, when I first went through this episode, I thought, wait a minute, doesn't Applejack have green eyes? So when they raced and it was revealed that it was Rarity, it was like, well played, show staff. Well played. Things like that are what make me really excited about this show and why I love, shows like Friendship is Magic. When they of course tell it in a compelling way, or they do things like this. They do the unexpected. Little things, this is how I say that little things can be substantial. But I'll get more onto that later. Surprising me, pulling it off very well, making it realistic. These are things that I look for in the execution. Essentially, how good was it? And here's about where the subjective part starts coming into play here. I can already tell you that the story and the characters are objective, and the circumstances surrounding the characters' actions are objective. But where the execution starts coming into play is where my subjective opinion starts to be formed. And this is where probably the most subjective piece of my review begins to play, is what did I think of the execution? I already said what I needed to. So, okay, I'll give you guys time. I've blabbed enough here. So, when you're looking at stories and execution, what are you guys looking for? And yeah, surprisingly, I'll be about done here. I've got one more little comment a few things to say, but and we'll get there. But I want to hear your guys' first, your guys' stuff. Good water. I mentioned that point in our Putting Your Hoof Down review, Thunderbolt, but thank you for bringing that up again. Yeah, he's talking about the emotions, and yeah, I'll mention that here shortly, but there's one thing I want to add on to that. I never said it was bad writing, Dark 92 Enigma. Something I want to add on in terms of Thunderbolt's talk about emotions here, and I didn't mention this, so like I said, I'm really glad he brought that up. Yeah, definitely that's something that I look for in regards to stories, is certainly the emotions. I mentioned this back in Putting Your Hoof Down, but I'll mention it again here. When it comes to emotions in a story, yes, I definitely have to agree with you on that one, Thunderbolt. If I'm supposed to be angry at a scene, then I should be angry. If I'm supposed to be happy, let's say a character succeeded, I should be happy. Emotions in a story are important. In a good story, you're supposed to feel the very emotions that they're trying to convey. So if I'm supposed to be happy, I should be happy. In a bad story, you're probably going to end up more angry than anything. Angry or bored. But if I'm supposed to be happy and I'm instead angry, you failed, writer. If I'm supposed to be crying but I'm laughing, you probably screwed up somewhere, writer. Or writers. It was that bad part that I wanted to add on. Sometimes, of course, it becomes so bad it's good, but in other cases, it's so bad it's bad. Yep, Thunderbolt, you're kind of taking that out of my head, but yeah, that's a prime example of it. Although there, it's more than anything. Well, I think to some... Okay, I can see where you're coming from on that one, Tim. I think it was supposed to be a little of both. Scary, but not so much that... Yeah, I don't think it was the point, but I definitely think there were hints of horror, like just sprinklings, little bits. You know, mostly for atmospheric purposes, but yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. Water story, Mark. Like I said, more for atmospheric purposes. Okay, I do have a few more. These are just some miscellaneous things that I didn't know where to put them, but I felt that they are part of how I review. So I'm just going to kind of list them off and explain a little bit, and then I'll ask you guys roughly the same thing if there's anything that you missed or some miscellaneous stuff, things that aren't in these categories but they're important in terms of how you review. I'll then give you a minute to say them. I like that. A turnip as a bad movie. So bad it's good movie. Nar nar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Or na na. Anyway, for me, when it comes to reviewing, believe it or not, I don't know if the Matt and my discussion about Spike at your service was any indicator, but I'm not very interested in unsubstantial. If it's not substantial, it's not important to me. So, for instance, the opening scene in a lot of the opening scenes, like for instance, the Sonic Rain Boom, the episode. For instance, the cold opening before the intro, it's cute, certainly, and I can make note of that, but in the sense of, does that really affect my overall impression of the episode itself? No. Or how about, what's an even better one? How about the opening to, cult opening, the opening to Secret of My Excess, where it's just Twilight rearranging books. Does that have any bearance on the plot? Again, no. So things like that I will intentionally throw out just because it falls under, where's the purpose to this? Where does this fall into the plot or the character or anything like that? That doesn't mean I won't mention it, nor does that mean that it takes away or adds anything to the review overall. Or back up, it does. I don't use it as any big substantial thing, make or break the episode. It's not going to. Is the cold opening to Secret of My Excess going to make me go, best episode ever or worst episode ever? No. Tell me the story, and then I'll be the judge. Again, going back to that, what I look for in stories and execution, what I just got done saying. Other things that I want to say, I want to talk about middle of the road episodes. These are things like Mystery on the Friendship Express, Traja, Stairmaster, things like this. These are episodes that aren't terribad, like what I think of Call of the Cutie, but they aren't masterpieces like Rarity Takes Manhattan or Twilight's Kingdom. I believe that it's okay for middle of the road episodes to be just simply middle of the road episodes. That it's okay that it doesn't have to fall in a black and white, good or bad. And this is why a lot of times when we do these middle of the road episodes, why I'll say that, I like it, but it's not, it's not going to make my top 10 or something to that effect. It's okay for an episode to be average. And do you know why? It makes the good ones look all that much better. If every single episode was Twilight's Kingdom grade good, forget the amount of time and money that would have to be invested in it. It would make Twilight's Kingdom, the actual episode, that much lackluster. Because we'd be so used to the excitement that we'd go, that we would eventually, I should say, go, I know it's coming, so why should I bother watching this? And yes, this is something that does irritate me with a lot of people, is when they have to black and white, good or bad categorize such episodes. It's like, you're just splitting hairs here. Stop that. Speaking of good or bad episodes, let's now talk about bad episodes. When it comes to bad episodes, as I said just about the middle of the road episodes, that a lot of them are going to fall in that category, middle of the road. Fine. But what is it about the bad episodes that make me call them bad episodes? Well, for one, it kind of has to go back to the story and execution bit. And it has to be a substantial thing that I don't like. I'll pick on Call of the Cutie because that still to this day probably has to be my least favorite episode of this whole show. There's a substantial reason I don't like that episode. Because it follows a cliched story arc, and I can't stand Diamond Tiara or Silver Spoon in this episode. Yeah, I know they're a plot device, but that still doesn't change from the fact that they irritate me like nobody's business in it. These are actually substantial things, though, that I can relate to and say, I don't like it. So that's why I don't say there are a truckload of episodes I hate in this show, among other shows, of course. But you pretty much have to you pretty much have to give me a reason to hate it, and then I'll hate it. And yeah, I will say this. And this is more about me. I know I already... Well, no, I think I hit on it when I did the middle of the road episode bit, so... I'll just say this to make sure I said it. If a problem doesn't exist with an episode, then where's the problem? Don't go searching for a problem with something just because you think it can't be perfect. Stop grasping for straws. Seriously. Okay. Now I've said all I've wanted to say. So are there any miscellaneous things that you guys do in your reviews? Is there something that maybe you didn't have the chance to say because it didn't categorize in those aforementioned categories of character or story, but something you want to say that, it doesn't fall there, but it's important? Oh, Ben, yes, I know exactly what you mean by that. That irritates me like nobody's business. Why do I feel like this is leading into a joke, Mr. Ben? That actually leads me to something I want to address. I'm glad you actually brought that up, Mr. Ben. Unresolved things like that. Now, this I want to pick mostly on. I want to pick on Flash Sentry about this. Anyone who knows me knows that I really don't have too many feelings about him. I admit that, yeah, the show has not given us anything on him thus far. But why should I get mad at him? Again, this kind of goes back to what I just said about if there's no reason for me to hate him, I'm not going to hate him. Or if there's no reason for me to hate something, I'm not going to hate it. Kind of on the same vein here. The reason I haven't complained or really said anything about him as of yet in respect to hating or liking him is because the series isn't over yet. Just because it hasn't, just because something has not come to pass yet, doesn't mean that it never will. Now, if the series were to end today or at the end of season 5 and they did absolutely nothing with Flash Sentry, yeah, I am going to write that off as poor execution, or I should say poor performance indeed. So, Scootaloo flying or not, that's something that could happen. We don't know it yet, but I'm anticipating the day that if and when they do address it. Flash Sentry having anything other than a cardboard personality. I'm waiting for them to address that one day, and I hope they do. Things like that. I have no problem waiting for this stuff. But if it's never going to be addressed, the series is over, then yes, I am going to have a problem with that. But we'll get there when we get there. The only thing that I have to say to that, is just the sense that unanswered questions are rarely good. Something like who shot JR, even though that was resolved. Sometimes situations like that can keep the mystique and fun of the episode. That's fine. But oftentimes, unanswered questions aren't very fun. They leave us wanting more, and not in a good way. They leave us wanting them to answer that just so that we can get some closure, which I think is fine. That's exactly what they should do. Good show staff, like FIM so far, they will answer those questions. They'll say, oh, gee, Trixie's Revenge, the Revenge episode, Magic Duel, let's actually write it. Or yeah, the key episodes. Hey, let's conclude that with Twilight's Kingdom. See, that's good. It's good to have that kind of stuff to be resolved. But to leave them unanswered, and I mean major plot points. So something like Flutterbat, iffy. But something like Scootaloo flying or not, that's certainly something that, yeah, that needs to be resolved, in my humble opinion anyway. It needs to be resolved partially because it's established, and partially because that would be something that would be worth investing in. Yeah, or what's in the suitcase. So it's just a matter of a situation, certainly, but I think that's about all I can really say is it's just it's situationally dependent on what the question they're trying to answer is. Is it something that they've been toting for a very long time? Then that probably needs to be answered. Is it something short, then maybe, not very substantial to the plot or anything? Probably not. Now, it might not be, it might leave you wondering and going, So why did they even put that in there in the first place then if they're not going to answer it, especially a small one? But again, it's situational. Case in point there. Or even if they were to answer it, if they were to keep it as the force, as in as a force in the sense of like, say, gravity or I'll use gravity. If they actually explained it as a scientific means like gravity, that'd be fine. But yeah, the midichlorian bullshit is, well, bullshit. All right, I think we're kind of starting to wander about here on topics, so we're probably going to go ahead and wrap things up here. But I like where things are going here. You guys. All right, we really should wrap this up now. Something I know I mentioned maybe last episode or something that we would talk about headcanons. Actually, I think I want to save that episode for after season 3. Like we're doing how you review here post season 2. So I want to do headcanon discussion and things like that after season 3. I think I want to do that because this will give me another subject there. In the meantime, next week, I'm going to do an interview. And the week after that, we're going to do another interview. This week, we're going to, next week, the 15th, how does an interview with Adam the Amazing 64 sound? Hope it sounds good, because that's exactly who we're bringing on here. I won't reveal who the week after that is, but yes, Adam the Amazing 64 will be interviewed next week. Until then, I'd like to thank everyone for stopping on by. Not sure if I'll ever do this episode again. Maybe in, like I said, the far future I will, but for now, I want to thank everyone for stopping by on behalf of myself, my good friends Twilight is Magic, and Mr. Ben. We want to thank everyone for stopping on by. Tune in this Wednesday on the 11th for The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and The Brave Little Toaster for Wednesday night movies here on Cinema Equestria. Don't forget, we're also doing Schwarzenegger month on Saturdays. For all 4 weeks of February, we'll be showing Schwarzenegger movies. And until then, farewell.